Alaikum everyone. My name is Huzaifah Ahmed and I'm from Rehan Korangi campus. Today I've got another topic with me for discussion with ChatGPT, which is how to master the art of negotiation in daily life. So let's start. Hey ChatGPT, today the topic of discussion with you is discussing how to master the art of negotiation in daily life.
Ooh, I love that topic. Negotiation is so useful in everyday situations, whether it's asking for a raise, resolving a disagreement with a friend, or even just coordinating plans. What angle do you want to focus on, like practical strategies, mindset shifts, or maybe handling tough conversations?
First, those who don't know what negotiation is, why don't you define it and tell me what exactly is it and why does it apply to everyday life, not just business deals and boardrooms?
Yeah, absolutely. So, at its core, negotiation is just a conversation between two or more people where each person tries to reach a mutually acceptable outcome. And the reason it's so vital in daily life is because pretty much every interaction involves some kind of give and take, whether you're deciding on weekend plans with friends, working out responsibilities at home, or even just asking for a better deal at a shop. So, it's a life skill, not just a corporate one.
Now, why do most people feel uncomfortable negotiating, and where does that resistance and awkwardness come from?
Yeah, that's a really common feeling. A lot of times people see negotiation as being pushy or confrontational, so they worry about damaging relationships or coming off as aggressive. Plus, a lot of us just aren't taught how to negotiate, so we feel unsure of the rules. But the good news is, once you practice, you realize it's really just about creating a dialogue and being curious, not combative.
Okay, what does behavioral science say about how what actually drives successful negotiation outcomes?
Ooh, great question. So, behavioral science really emphasizes things like trust, emotional intelligence, and understanding the other party's perspective. For example, people tend to respond better when they feel heard and when the discussion is framed around shared goals. Also, small cues like tone, body language, and anchoring can really influence how both sides perceive the outcome. So it's a mix of logic, empathy, and social cues.
What's the difference between a win lose negotiation and a win win negotiation, and which approach works better long term?
Yeah, so a win lose negotiation is basically a zero sum game. One person gets what they want, the other loses out. And that can create short term wins but long term conflict. A win win approach, on the other hand, is about collaboration. Both sides get something valuable, so trust in relationships are strengthened. And research shows that win win tends to produce better, more sustainable outcomes over time because both sides feel invested in the solution.
What role does emotional intelligence and empathy play in becoming an effective negotiator?
Oh, it's huge. Emotional intelligence lets you read the room, so you can pick up on people's emotions, adjust your approach, and build rapport. And empathy, actually putting yourself in the other person's shoes, helps you understand their concerns so you can craft solutions that work for both of you. In short, when you lead with empathy and emotional awareness, you're way more likely to succeed and keep the relationship strong.
Now, tell me, what are the most common negotiation mistakes people make that immediately weaken their position?
Yeah, so a big one is going in unprepared, like not knowing what you really want or what the other person values. Another mistake is being too rigid. If you can't adapt or listen, you lose flexibility. Also, people often jump to yes or no without exploring options. And a subtle one is letting emotions take over. If you get defensive or too eager, you lose your footing. So, preparation, flexibility, and staying calm are key.
How does body language, tone of voice, and silence work as a powerful tool in a negotiation?
Oh, definitely. Body language is huge. It signals confidence or openness, and things like maintaining eye contact or staying relaxed can put you in a stronger position. Tone of voice is just as important. If you stay calm, measured, and confident, you convey authority and trustworthiness. And silence, oh, that's a superpower. Pausing after a point lets the other person fill the gap, often revealing more or reconsidering their stance. So it's all about being intentional with those cues.
Now, what's the difference between negotiating for salary, negotiating in relationships, and negotiating in business? Does the approach change?
Yeah, the core principles are similar. It's all about finding a balance of needs and building trust, but the approach does shift. Salary negotiations tend to focus on clear data, like market rates, your value, and a future vision. In relationships, it's more about emotional needs and mutual respect, so it's softer, more personal. And in business, especially B2B, it's usually more strategic long term partnerships, value exchange, and sometimes even legal aspects. So the goals and tone adjust depending on the context.
Now, how do the world's best negotiators, diplomats, lawyers, and executives prepare before entering a high stakes negotiation?
That's a great point. So, the best negotiators are incredibly deliberate. They start by doing deep research, understanding the other party's goals, their constraints, and even their psychological triggers. They also define their own priorities clearly, knowing what they'll concede and what's a non negotiable. And often they practice ahead of time, running mock scenarios, planning responses, getting their mindset right. So, it's a mix of knowledge, strategy, and emotional regulation.
All right, and how can we implement it in our daily lives as the average people?
Yeah, absolutely. So you don't need to be a pro to use these skills. Start with small daily interactions, like when you negotiate chores, a schedule, or even a price at a market. Prepare by thinking ahead about what you really want, listen carefully to the other person, and practice staying calm. Over time, those little wins build confidence, and you start applying them in bigger situations.
What's the role of knowing your walkaway point, and how do you hold from without firm? How do you hold firm without destroying the relationship?
Yeah, knowing your walk away point is crucial. It's like your personal boundary. It gives you a clear sense of when the deal stops being worth it. And to stay firm without damaging the relationship, it's all about how you communicate. Be respectful and calm, explain your reasoning clearly, emphasize that you value the relationship, and leave the door open for future conversations. That way, you stay true to yourself, but you don't burn any bridges.
Now, to cover up this discussion, what's one negotiation technique that someone can practice today in a low stakes situation to build their own confidence?
I'd say one really simple technique is practicing the anchoring method. So pick a number or a starting point, whether it's a time, a price, or a plan, and propose it first. Then see how the other person responds. It gives you a starting point and helps you stay in control of the conversation. You don't have to be aggressive, just curious and confident in that opening offer.
All right, everyone, this was the end of my discussion with ChatGPT. Until the next one, Allah Hafiz.